You know Lenny Bruce?
Yes. Yes.
The like legendary fucking
Yeah.
patient zero in comedy.
Right.
He attributes a lot of what he did on stage to one of his friends. I read his long ass biography,
Okay.
and I forget the friend's name, but he was basically up there doing the same mannerisms, kind of doing an impersonation of his friend talking to him and their friends,
Right. Right.
which, when you think about it, is kind of the purest form of, I guess, the purest form of comedy because there's very little censoring. Now,
Right.
obviously, there's some things you can't say that you say with your friends on
Right.
stage,
Yeah.
but to be able to, I guess, encapsulate what makes you funny around your friends. Whatever you do that makes you funny, whether it's your animated or the words that you choose to say or your
Right.
puns, you make fun of shit. If you're able to do that in front of a big audience of people you don't know, that's like that's legit. That's when you're
Oh
getting
yeah.
pretty fucking good.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I've done it. I did it where I've got a few jokes about my little sister.
Right.
Just because like we get along. She knows about the jokes, but I was telling them just talking about. I was like, oh, my sister, like she's stupid because for one, I'm an older brother, so I'm like I could say that. All right, she's my little sister. That's like part of my job.
Right.
I'm allowed to say whatever I want, and so I would just call her dumb. And my aunts were like in the audience one time listening with my sister there, and they stopped my dad. And they were like, "Oh my god, that's so awful!" And my dad had to be like, "No, it's fine. All right, like
Yeah, it's jokes.
she knows the jokes are coming.
Yeah.
And it's all true stuff. I had someone the other day. They were like, not a comic, just a coworker. They were like, if you didn't tell all the stories or the jokes of like what other people say to you or have done to you, you wouldn't have that much material. And I'm like, first off, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got jokes. I just don't tell them to you guys. Like,
Right.
Tell them to the comedians. But also, it's like that's just. I'm just reporting the funny stuff that happens to me. I'm like, I thought it was funny when this person said that. Someone else is going to find this funny.
Right.
Like, it was even if I was the one who said it or not, like, the only difference is that I don't take credit for it. I'm like, I had a coworker come up to me and say this, or I had my sister come up to me and say this. Like, it's all true stuff. I'm just not twisting it in a way because it's real. Like, if I'm telling a story about somebody, it's because it actually happened.
Right.
And that's what makes it so funny because it's like I can't believe someone said that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, some of the best comedy is comedians telling you what happened to them
oh yeah,
in a certain situation or in some period in their life. Like right now, before you were here, actually throughout the whole day, you mentioned storytelling. I wanted to bring him up. Ali Sadiq, you ever listen to him?
yes.
He sits down. He's doing sit down comedy, and he's just talking like he's on a porch.
Right.
Like you and him are having a fucking drink,
Yeah.
and he's just telling stories, and he's great at that. But right now, his newest special, it's on YouTube,
Okay.
which I want to talk about in a second. Comedians putting their shit on YouTube. He's basically talking about what brought him to jail. He did 6 years in jail or something,
Oh wow.
and the special's called Domino Effect. So it's all like an idea, a central idea about this period. I think it's like from 10 to like whenever he got locked up, 18 or 16 or whatever the fuck it was. And it's basically his life. Every aspect of his life. It's a big fucking story for like an hour and a half. Phenomenal special. He's able to go off on tangents and little taglines and
Yeah.
talk about certain situations. But it's one of those instances where he's just talking about his life in a funny way. He's made it very funny.
Right.
Right? And when you hear some of this shit, another level of mastery there is being able to convey a pretty negative fucking situation in a funny way.
Yeah.
Like he talks about living with his gangbanging dad and, things where you're like, God damn, that's rough. Him selling crack and all these things. But it's like funny
Right.
the way he's saying it. And then you got like, Eddie Murphy, who put out two of the best specials of all time.
Oh yeah.
and he's talking about, his aunt falling down the steps and his fucking uncle burning the yard down when he starts a grill.
Oh yeah.
It's all about their lives.
Well, and it's just, I mean, how many stories can one person have? They can't, like, the comic isn't doing everything funny that happens in their life. Like,
Right.
And I've heard, I can't remember who said it, but I definitely heard it somewhere. So I take no credit for it. But they're like, oh, the funniest person you know is never going to be a comedian.
Right.
It's always, the weird uncle.
Yeah.
Or the goofy coworker. Like, it's always going to be somebody else that makes you laugh more than any comedian ever will, because they're funny.
Yeah.
And the comedian just sees that and is like, I'm going to tell someone about this.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, so the stories have to come from somewhere. It's just, you take the funny stuff that happens to you